scene for the new year. I want to wish you and your families the very best for the new year. May all of your dreams and aspirations and ambitions that you've set yourself for the new year prove to be successful. I wish you good health, happiness and strength as you face the challenges of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, we've called this conference because we want to speak a little bit about the situation regarding the Camahan Park. As you know, over the past few days, Grenadians have been steaming, frankly, over reports that Camahan Park has been sold by Dr. Keith Mitchell and his new National Party administration to a developer who would use the site for the development of a hotel. These reports have deeply affected Grenadians of all walks of life: hoteliers, doctors, nurses, environmentalists, trade union leaders, community-based organizations, the young people, church leaders, bus drivers, students and youth especially. Just about every single Grenadian who has come to know and to appreciate the pleasure of recreating and relaxing on that single space, that single green space left on Granans Beach for the enjoyment of the Grenadian people. Most significantly, Grenadians of all political persuasion and affiliation have joined in this expression of anxiety. In other words, it cuts across political lines, whether it's NNP or NDC, whoever you are, people are expressing concerns. I was shocked to see some of the people, frankly, who are posting on Facebook in relation to this issue, and who are making their views known, who are writing about it. So this is a very interesting sign. The NDC is particularly pleased to see the young people of Grenada in the forefront of this fight, as they too will be significantly affected if this plan were to come to fruition. The plan to sell and develop Camahan Park as a hotel. Camahan Park, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, finds its name in the former name of our dear country. I think that is well known. The fact that the founders of that park chose to call it Camahan demonstrates the significance that they attach to that space. Camahan Park represents everything that is Grenadian: nature, openness, warmth, the spirit of liberty, the freedom of choice. It is the green space reserved on our best beach for use and enjoyment of the Grenadian people. It is a park by Grenadians, for Grenadians. Members of the media, the leaders of the new National Party government no doubt understand what this park means to Grenadians. Nevertheless, even without talking to the Grenadian people, these 15 men and women decided that they would do as they please, regardless of what the Grenadian people think and how the Grenadian people feel about this issue. This is an affront to the intelligence and pride of the Grenadian people and must be resisted by all patriotic Grenadians. Grenadian government officials continue to tell blatant lies, half-truths, conflicting stories when the public express their anxiety about the future of that green space. When reports around this issue first surfaced in 2013, the government flatly denied that there was any truth to it. I recall that in September 2013, Honorable Nicholas Steele, then the Minister of Foreign Affairs, spoke in an interview with MTV. He was adamant that Camahan Park had not been sold. He said that concerns being expressed could be the result of what he called misidentification, quote unquote, between the Riviera property and the Camahan Park. In other words, Grenadians did not know what Camahan Park was, and they didn't know what Riviera was. They were confusing whether or not it's Camahan Park. In other words, they didn't know what they were looking at. That's what the explanation that was given by then Minister Steele. This position was repeated and reinforced by several other government ministers. In a press cabinet briefing, then Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Honorable Lal Singh, as he then was, told the nation that rumors going around of Camahan Park being sold is totally untrue. I want to repeat in quotation marks. Rumors going around about Camahan being sold is totally untrue. He said that he wanted the public to rest assured that there was no truth to that rumor at that time. He said at this time, at that time he was speaking. He told the nation, and I think it might have been our good young friend here that did the interview, But he told the nation, in response to your questions and your story, that the government had decided to retain the services of an urban planner to look at the entire area from Point Saline to Perseverance to advise on how to develop the area, how the area was going to be developed. He said if, after the urban planner submitted his report, it became clear that an alternative site can be found which will mean more to Grenada and its people. This was the qualification he gave. An alternative site which would mean more to Grenada and its people, his government will consider it. That's what he said. Now, Mr. Larson repeated this position both in the Senate and at the post-cabinet briefing. He spoke at length in the Senate on this issue as well. To date, members of the media, there have been no consultations with the Grenadian people to determine whether it will mean more to the people or less to the people, in spite of his promise. To date, we have heard nothing about this urban planner, whether he has been retained, whether he has done the surveys, whether he has sketched out from Point Saline to Perseverance, whether he has generated a report, and if he has, what does that report say? Absolutely nothing has been told to the people of Grenada. In fact, government is still withholding from the people whether these lands have been sold or not sold. In presenting the 2016 budget, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, in talking about the construction of the Riviera Hotel, had this to say, I'm quoting, "The Riviera Hotel is now being designed and will create a further 100 jobs during construction. During this design phase, the investors have agreed," listen to me carefully, "during this design phase, the investors have agreed to construct a new Camaron Park nearby and upgrade the vendors market and the basketball and tennis courts." End of quote. That's what Dr. Mitchell told the nation in his presentation on the 2016 budget. This, members of the media, was the very first clear indication that Camaron Park had in fact been given to a developer for development. But notice how Dr. Mitchell says it. He doesn't say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are thinking of selling Camaron Park. We're going to have consultations about it." He doesn't say, "We are going to get rid of Camaron Park, we will sell it, and we will develop a new Camaron Park." What does he say? During the design, a new Camaron Park will be developed somewhere. So he doesn't tell us whether or not the old Camaron Park will remain Camaron Park, whether or not we'll have one Camaron Park or two Camaron Parks. All that we know is a new Camaron Park, whether it's another park or the new park that will replace the old park. None of that information is provided. Now, when I say in my presentations that Dr. Mitchell is engaged in a series of half-truths and deceitful behavior and deceitful conduct, there are those who say, "I don't like the Prime Minister." You judge for yourself. If, as the custodian of the country's property, as the leader of our nation, as the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, you take a decision, or your government takes a decision, that you're going to sell the property, say that we are thinking about it, say that we want to have consultations about it, say that we will establish a body to look into it. Whatever is true, say it, but come clean with the nation. These half-truths will not suffice. He leaves us wondering whether the park has been scrapped and replaced by a new park, or whether we will have two Camaron Parks. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is not acceptable from the leader of a democratic country. The issue came up again at a post-cabinet briefing just last week when Senator Garraway spoke. When he was questioned by the media, he told the nation there's a proposal on the table for the relocation of Camaron Park, and gave some fancy story about his party will never give the opposition party, this is a political issue, and his party will never give the opposition party any ammunition to beat them. That's how we explain what was going on with Camaron Park. Yeah? I leave you to judge the quality and integrity of that kind of information coming from a former Minister of Information, but I will not judge him. The following week, Honorable Nicholas Steele, Minister for Health, appeared onto the point. He was specifically asked by the interviewer whether Camaron Park would be moved. He refused to answer the question, saying to them all that he knew was that Grenada was going to get a new upgraded Camaron Park. Why is it that the truth is not being told to us. Then on Friday evening, we heard Senator Sheldon Scott. He appeared to have been on what looked like a telephone interview with the GBN. I don't know who was questioning him, but it looked to me like a telephone interview from what I saw. When he was asked, what is the situation? Senator Sheldon Scott, Parliamentary Secretary and Minister of Information, when asked whether Kamahan Park had been sold, he continued to repeat, it is not true that Kamahan Park has been sold. And the justification he offered for it was to say, no agreement has yet been signed. And he was very emphatic about it. No agreement has yet been signed to sell Kamahan Park. So, if the agreement has not yet been signed, then there is no agreement. And what matters really is whether or not the agreement has been signed or not yet signed. So we must ask the question, when Prime Minister Mitchell told us that the developers, and presenting the budget on the 26th of November, that the developers had agreed to design and build a new Kamahan Park, was he saying something different from what Senator Sheldon Scott is saying? Was he lying and Sheldon Scott is telling the truth? Or was Sheldon Scott lying and Prime Minister is telling the truth? Who is really telling the truth to the nation? This is the question that we must ask. Now, he went on to suggest, Senator Scott did, that he can assure Grenadians that Kamahan Park will not be sold unless government is able to give Grenadians a better Kamahan Park than the existing one. And that's what they all keep repeating. We're not going to sell it unless we give you a better one. What is that telling you? What is that really telling you? This is the question. Now, as part of that merry-go-round, Dr. Mitchell apparently appeared this morning on a press conference in which he told the nation he doesn't know what all this hoopla is about. Essentially, I don't know what all this talk is about. In other words, it's a storm in a teacup, whether or not Kamahan Park is sold. It means nothing whether or not Kamahan Park is sold. What level of arrogance can we expect of our leaders? Is this what this whole thing is about? He says in his presentation that we must go back and look at the budget and what he said in the budget. Well, I just quoted you what he said in the budget, and you are free to go and look at this document, what he said in the budget. I quoted you from this document exactly what he said. Yes? So you need to look at that. Now, he's now talking about setting up some committee, and we must ask really, why must the citizens of our country have to hold the government by the neck in order to get a consultation on issues affecting the nation? Are consultations not supposed to happen as a matter of course in a democratic society? Are we living under a dictatorship? Is the government not supposed to give people an opportunity to share their views on issues of such national importance? This style of government is undemocratic and not in the best interest of our nation. Members of the media, the people of Grenada must not take this lying down. No one can deny, and I want to make this very clear, no one can deny that Grenada will benefit from an increase in the hotel room stock in the country. Let's not make any illusions, let's not play any games. No one can deny that. This will improve the tourism potential of the country, it will create jobs, it will increase tourism earnings, it will increase foreign exchange earnings for the country. But it is not necessary to take away Kamahan Park from the people in order to achieve this objective. That is essentially what we are saying. The government of Dr. Mitchell, by the mere consideration of selling the park as part of a hotel deal, are signaling to the Grenadian people the lack of concern for the people's needs for green space and access to our world-famous Grandance Beach. The selling of the area known as Kamahan Park as part of any hotel deal to facilitate the building of such a hotel robs us, members of the media, of our heritage and is an insult to the patrimony of the people of Grenada. In typical disrespect for our intelligence as a people and good sense, what we can expect coming is that in the coming days and weeks, perhaps months, the NNP spin doctors will present what we call in the business a tender or an artist's impression of a new Kamahan Park. It's going to show you a wonderful Kamahan Park with updated facilities and just about every amenity you can think about. Mark my word. You're going to see some kind of artist impression coming of some fancy park with all kinds of things in it as a way of telling the people that they will give them something better. I want to say, however, the people of Grenada must not be fooled into giving away their patrimony and the right to that single green open space and access to the beach. known as Kamahon Park.